Hey everyone, welcome to IELTS time. Today we're looking at parks and gardens, a common Part 1 topic. You'll hear Finn and Blondie answering a series of questions on the topic. Let's get started with Finn.
Do you often go to parks?
Not really at the moment. I'm a university student, and there isn't really a park near my university, so I don't have much of a reason to go to one during the week. When I'm back home, though, there's a park quite close to where I live, and I sometimes go there for a walk or to meet up with friends.
Is there a park or garden near your home?
Yeah, there's a pretty nice park about a 10-minute walk from my house. It's not huge, but it has quite a lot of trees, a walking path, and a small playground. I used to go there more often when I was younger, and I still go there occasionally when I'm back home.
What do you usually do when you visit a park?
Usually I just walk around or sit somewhere and relax. If I'm with friends, we might get some food and eat there, especially when the weather is nice. I'm not really the type to go to a park specifically to exercise, so for me it's more about getting some fresh air and taking a break.
Did you often go to parks when you were a child?
Yeah, quite often. There was a park near my house, so my parents used to take me there when I was little. Later on, I'd go there with my friends after school. We'd play football, ride our bikes, or just hang around and talk. I have quite a few good memories of that place.
Are public gardens important for cities?
Yeah, I think they are. Cities can be pretty crowded and stressful, so having green spaces gives people somewhere to relax and get away from all the buildings and traffic. They're also useful for families and older people, and they can make an area feel much more pleasant overall.
What activities do children do in parks?
I think the most common ones are playing on the playground, riding bikes, and playing sports like football. When I was a kid, my friends and I would sometimes just run around and make up our own games. So I think parks are useful because children can be active and spend time with other kids instead of being at home on their phones or playing video games.
Do people in your country like going to parks?
Yeah, I'd say they do, although it probably depends on their age and where they live. Families seem to use them quite a lot, especially at weekends, and you often see people having picnics or going for walks. Among university students, though, I think it's a bit less common, especially if there aren't any parks close to campus.
Do you prefer public gardens or natural parks?
I'd probably choose natural parks. I like public gardens, but I find natural parks a bit more relaxing because they feel less artificial. If I had a free day, I'd rather go somewhere with hiking trails and lots of trees than somewhere that's been carefully landscaped. Just feels like more of an escape.
Do you prefer visiting parks alone or with other people?
Probably with other people most of the time. If I'm back home, I might go with a friend and just walk around and catch up. That said, I can see the appeal of going alone, especially if you want some time to yourself. I just don't usually make the effort to go to a park unless I have someone to go with.
What improvements would you like to see in the parks in your area?
I think having more seating areas and better lighting would be useful. Some parks near my home are quite dark in the evening, so people don't really use them after sunset. I'd also like to see more facilities for teenagers and young adults, like outdoor sports areas, because playgrounds tend to be aimed mainly at younger children.
And that's the end of Finn's mock interview. Now let's hear another set of answers from Blondie. Do you often go to parks?
To be honest, not as often as I'd like. Between work and general adulting, life gets pretty hectic. So I usually only manage to drop by a park on the weekends, maybe once or twice a month when I need a breather.
Is there a park near your home?
Yeah, actually, there's a sweet little neighbourhood park just about a 10-minute walk from my apartment. It's not massive, but it has a nice loop trail, plenty of shade, and a small pond, which is great for a quick stroll.
What do you usually do when you visit a park?
It really depends on my mood, but most of the time I just put my headphones in, listen to a podcast, and go for a brisk walk. If the weather's nice, I might bring a book, lay out a blanket, and just chill for an hour or two.
Did you often go to parks when you were a child?
Oh, constantly. Growing up, my parents used to take my brother and me to the local park almost every evening after school to burn off some energy. We'd spend hours on the swings or playing tag until it got dark.
Do you prefer parks or gardens?
That's a tough choice, but I'd say parks take the top spot for me. Gardens are absolutely gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but they can feel a bit rigid with all the strict rules. Parks feel much more laid back. You can actually stretch out on the grass without worrying about stepping on a prize rose bush.
What kind of parks do you like?
I'm a big fan of parks that strike a balance between natural wilderness and good facilities. I love open green spaces with lots of mature trees, but I also appreciate practical stuff like well-paved walking paths and clean public restrooms.
Are there many parks and gardens in your city?
Surprisingly, yes. My city has actually made a huge push toward urban greening over the last few years. You'll find pocket parks tucked away in business districts, as well as a few massive botanical gardens near the city outskirts.
Do you think parks are important for cities?
Without a doubt, they serve as the lungs of a city by improving air quality, but more than that, they're crucial for mental health. Living in a concrete jungle can be pretty draining, so having accessible green spaces gives people a chance to decompress.
Do you prefer visiting parks alone or with other people?
It depends on the goal, honestly. If I'm going there to clear my head or unwind after a crazy week, I definitely prefer going solo. But if it's for a weekend, picnic or catching up with friends, then the more, the merrier.
What improvements would you like to see in the parks in your area?
I think better lighting and enhanced safety features would make a world of difference, especially for women visiting in the evening. Adding a few more trash cans and maybe an outdoor cafe or coffee cart would also make them a lot more welcoming.
And that brings us to the end of Blondie's interview. Now let's take a closer look at some useful vocabulary from both interviews that you can actually use in your own answers. Get some fresh air means to go outside and spend some time outdoors, usually because you've been inside for a while. It's a very common expression in everyday English, and it's particularly useful when talking about parks, outdoor activities, or relaxing. For example, I sometimes go for a walk in the evening just to get some fresh air. Or, I like sitting outside on sunny days and getting some fresh air. A brisk walk is a walk that is fairly quick and energetic. It's faster than a casual stroll, but it's not as intense as running. It's a useful expression when talking about exercise, healthy habits, or what you like to do outdoors. For example, I usually go for a brisk walk in the evening if I've been sitting around all day. Or, a brisk walk in the morning is a great way to start the day. Hang around means to spend time somewhere without having a particular plan or purpose. It's informal and very common in spoken English. It's particularly useful when talking about what you did with friends or what you used to do as a child. For example, when I was younger, my friends and I used to hang around in the park after school. Or, we didn't have anything planned, so we just hung around the town centre for a few hours. Catch up means to spend time talking to someone and finding out what they've been doing recently, especially if you haven't seen them for a while. It's extremely common in conversational English, so it's useful for questions about friends, weekends, and social activities. For example, I sometimes meet my friends at the park so we can walk around and catch up. Or, I met an old friend last weekend and we spent a couple of hours catching up. To burn off some energy means to do something active so that you use up some physical energy. We often use this expression when talking about children, exercise, or outdoor activities. For example, my parents used to take me to the park so I could burn off some energy. Or, the kids usually play football outside to burn off some energy. This is especially useful for questions about childhood or activities for children. If a place is tucked away, it means that it's located in a quiet or slightly hidden place, often away from busy streets or main areas. It's a nice expression for describing where a park, cafe, restaurant, or other place is located. For example, there's a lovely little park tucked away behind the shopping centre. Or, we found a small cafe tucked away down a quiet side street. Laid back means relaxed, informal, and not stressful. You can use it to describe a person, a place, or an atmosphere. When talking about parks, it's a useful way to explain why you enjoy them. For example, I like going to the park because it has a really laid-back atmosphere. Or, I prefer small restaurants because they tend to be quieter and more laid back. If you describe something as a bit of an escape, you mean that it gives you a chance to temporarily get away from your normal surroundings, responsibilities, or daily routine. It's particularly useful when explaining why you enjoy a particular place or activity. For example, going for a walk in the countryside is a bit of an escape from the noise of the city. Or, for me, reading in the park is a bit of an escape from my busy routine. To decompress means to relax and release stress after a busy, tiring, or demanding period. It's slightly more advanced than simply saying, relax, but it's still natural in spoken English. For example, I like going for a long walk in the evening because it helps me decompress. Or, after a hectic week, I usually spend Sunday somewhere quiet and just decompress. If something makes a world of difference, it means that it has a very noticeable or significant effect. This is especially useful when talking about improvements or changes that would make something better. For example, adding more benches would make a world of difference for older visitors. Or, better lighting would make a world of difference in the evening. It's a great alternative to repeatedly saying something would be very helpful or very useful. And that's it for today's lesson. Remember, you don't need to memorize Finn's or Blondie's answers word for word. Instead, take the ideas and expressions that feel natural to you and adapt them to your own experiences. If you'd like more lessons like this, you can join our membership for extra lessons and speaking topics. Thanks for tuning in.